So when you stop freezing or you stop hiring in the sales function in a business, that should send red signals immediately or red flags immediately. Many times we behave like ostriches. That, if I bury my head, keep doing my work, it will pass me by. So it's better to pull your head out, ask your business head, say that what is the business strategy. People who help you get jobs might try to squeeze people by saying that because you got laid off or you are without a job right now, you are not in a position to negotiate. And I would strongly recommend that don't fall into this trap.
Hi, my name is Meera Swaroop. Welcome to this episode of Workwise with Naukri. Our purpose of conversation today is how to bounce back after a layoff. Our guest today is Sonica Aron. She's the CEO of the HR consulting firm Marching Sheep. Boasting of a 20-year plus experience in human resources, she's worked in organizations such as Philips, Vodafone, and PepsiCo. She's been recognized by Forbes as one of the most valued people in 2021 in India. Through this conversation, you're going to see how to best handle yourself after a layoff. What are the best strategies to apply to have a fresh start? You'll also learn from an HR expert what are the rights that you need to look out for. Let's welcome Sonica. Sonica, thank you so much for being here today with us to discuss this difficult situation.
Thank you so much, Meera, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Sonica, allow me to set a little context with my own experience. My first job, within a little after 5 years, I was laid off. It hit like a bolt. And I remember the first thing I did when I came home and I dropped the bag was cry bucket loads. Because the first place it hit was my self-worth. Everything seemed to have crashed in that moment. Maybe there was a drama queen moment. But I know it happens to people. Now, what is your advice on how to best deal the first few instances when you learn you've been laid off?
Very nice question, and something that we should all think about. The first thing I want people to understand is that what is happening right now since COVID, since AI coming in, a lot of technological advancements coming in, a lot of restructuring happening, business models changing. Layoffs are no longer because of one's competence, skill set, performance only, and your future employer recognizes that.
Thank you for putting it across like that. It is nothing personal.
It is
not your
not
competence.
personal.
Yes.
Correct? Now, having said that, that question will always come to your mind, why me? Right? So I always say that all emotions are important. So when you do get that message that you are one of the people impacted, it is important to deal with that emotion rather than bury that emotion and say, now I need to start working towards a solution.
Wow. I like that. Thank you. Now, another thing that hit me again when I faced this. So my profession involved me to have laser sharp awareness, alertness regarding medical documentation. My first job as a clinical researcher needed me to see what was not said, needed me to see what was not documented, needed me to hear what was not said, be able to catch what may have gone amiss. That's what quality experts do. So when the news of being laid off hit, apart from it being a blow on self-worth, it was like, how did I not see this coming? The question is, Sonica, how can we help our viewers identify sooner, better, have their ears to the ground? What are the signs that could tell them, hey, be alert?
So, Meera, there's a very fine line between paranoia and being informed and alert. Okay. So, we saw both during COVID. I don't know if you recall, after the first set of layoffs in the first wave, there were a lot of companies that took knee-jerk reactions and there were mass layoffs, right? And when that happened, just about everybody thought that they would get laid off, and there was mass hysteria. And that essentially happened because some of the very large organizations did layoffs in a very public manner, right? So, and they felt that, if these large MNCs could do it in such a public manner, then what would happen here? So when this happened, there was a lot of paranoia. But at the same time, there were a lot of companies which were also showing signs in the form of restructuring. They were showing signs in the form of changing of business models. They were showing signs in the form of lack of transparency in communication. They were shutting down, for example, or freezing of hiring. Right? So when you stop freezing or you stop hiring in the sales function in a business, that should send red signals immediately or red flags immediately. You're not hiring in a sales function or a marketing function, which means what is going to happen.
Is held back, yes.
Right. So I recall that one of the publications, leading publications, shut down their magazine overnight and everybody was given a pink slip on a Sunday morning. Right. Now, they were all taken unawares. But then when they started questioning, they said, but we were not getting any resources for the past 1 month. Why did we not see it? Life was not BAU for the last 1 month or so.
Right.
So, which dream world were we living in? So, these were little things that we need to, keep an eye open for, or ear to the ground, start speaking, start asking questions. There would be people who would say that, listen, look out. Right?
I appreciate you saying that. It's very powerful. Instead of trying to be a spy who's just catching conversations left, right, and center, find out the right people to go have a open conversation, ask the difficult question, should we be concerned?
Yes. Because, many times we behave like ostriches. That, if I bury my head, keep doing my work, it will pass me by. It doesn't.
I think I recognize I was in denial. This is talking to me right now. This is so true.
Yeah. But it doesn't, right? It catches you. So it's better to pull your head out, take those difficult conversations, go ask your CHRO, ask your business head, say that what is the business strategy? How does it look like 6 months from now? Are we even going to be there? Right? We've stopped hiring salespeople. We've stopped hiring editors. We've stopped, looking for new news or whatever. What's the plan?
Right.
And if we feel that it's time to look around, move on, then do it proactively.
Now, it takes awareness to A, not look at it personally, B, look for the next set of avenues. I'm going to tap into your expertise as an HR specialist. When walking out, I'm going to ask this question in 2 parts. When walking out, exiting an organization because we've been laid off, what are the key things for us to look into in terms of our rights? Severance appears like a right. I understand it must be somewhere in black and white, and therefore we can bring it up. So what are the rights they should look out for? What are the questions they should have as a checklist ready? And the other thing I want to ask you is that when they step into their next job, what are certain policy documents, rules, regulations they should be looking out for so that they can anticipate, am I well covered?
So, from a mandatory legal perspective, um, every organization will have PF, gratuity,
Correct.
ESIC, insurance. These are the standard hygiene ones.
Yes.
But let's say when I look for severance, right? What is the notice period, right? Today, the workforce is divided between whether it should be a short notice period or a long notice period. Now, when you are looking for a short notice period, when I voluntarily leave an organization, I want a short notice period because I want to quickly go to my new employer. But when I am laid off, I don't want a short notice period because I want a landing period, right? Now, that is where an employer then has a choice, right? Whether they want to give a longer
Retention
I would call it a landing period.
landing period.
Where they understand that they will not get a job, or it might be difficult, and the more senior an employee gets, the pyramid gets narrower, and therefore the number of jobs available are lesser, so they might require more time. Right, so they might like to give a longer landing period, maybe of 3 months, so that they can get a job. The other thing that they might want to extend is, let's say, the medical benefits for some time, because when medical benefits get extended, it is not just to the employee, it is also to the family, to the children, to dependent parents. And suddenly the employee finds that all these risks are directly coming, and right now I don't even have an income.
Correct. There's no safety net.
There's no safety net. So that's the other thing that they can look at. The third thing is the infrastructure. Many employees do not have a personal laptop at home. They are only using the company laptop. Can that asset be provided for till the employee gets a second? So I recall that, for one of the organizations where we were looking at outsourcing a full function to another organization, there was a complete plan of transition. So when an employee transitioned from our organization to another, there was a complete hand-holding of 6 months. Right, where they got benefits from our organization till they became employees of the next organization. So from medical to insurance to laptop assistance to leave to housing, so there was complete security.
I appreciate how you're really using this voice and this opportunity right now to speak to the employers and help them wake up in the process as well, to make sure they're not being unfair in any way to their staff. What I also heard is that these things that you're asking employers to do right, give them the necessary technology support if you can, give them the necessary medical support that you can. I'm hearing that these are the questions that I as an employee can go and ask for. It's like, okay, I understand this news has come in, but my request is, can you help take care of these for us while I'm transitioning?
Yeah.
Beyond the severance, can this be addressed? So that gives me a clue, but I still want to ask, is severance negotiable?
Severance, it will depend on what are the resources and the budgets available to the organization. If the organization is going under, then it might be very difficult. See, it's a two-way street, right? Everything is mutual. But there are organizations that have deep pockets. They are doing it because they have found a more optimized and more cost-friendly method of doing the same thing. And they don't need that much of manpower anymore. Right? So recently we heard of a lot of large tech giants who are replacing AI and therefore reducing their manpower. Completely understood. But these organizations do have deep pockets and they can make it easier for these employees to transition out. Then there are organizations which might be going under or which might be really in a tough spot. And we've heard of so many startups in the recent past which have not made it. Now, in such a case, it might be a situation where the organization might not have the resources. But there, the founders and co-founders can still take a very humane view wherein they can look into their network and get their people placed.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
So we can ask.
We can ask for help.
Right.
We can ask for help and say that, I understand, because see, very often, when a startup starts, they're small teams, they work very closely, they become friends, and a founder and a co-founder, they know exactly what is the skill set of the people they're working with. And for them to recommend a person and say that, listen, I know this person will be an asset to your team, reaching out to their friends from school, college, ex-colleagues from companies will be so much easier. So having a transparent conversation is very important. Walking away without a conversation is not something that people should do. But at the same time, having an angry conversation doesn't help anyone.
So now you're actually touching right where I wanted to go. This whole burning bridges conversation just brews. Our emotions take over, we get angry or we get passive aggressive. Let's face it, we're going through a loss.
Yes.
How do you think we can best manage it amicably?
Sleep over it.
I like that advice, yes.
If you have to sleep over it for a week, sleep over it for a week. Now, when I deal with it, it might take a day, it might take 3 days, it might take 5 days. Having the conversation after I have dealt with it, maybe it will help us in preventing, right, burning of bridges. There is something known as an exit interview.
Yes.
Right? 99.9% of the times, people do not speak the truth in the exit interview. I would encourage employees to say the truth in the exit interview. Don't say it with malice.
Right. Not brutally.
Not brutally, not with malice, but give the right feedback.
Right. Events as they happen.
You need not take names of people, because the moment you start taking names, it becomes personal. It becomes with malintent saying, I am complaining about Meera and I want Meera to bear the consequences. That is where you burn bridges. All I'm trying to say is that use exit interview for benefit of other people who stay on in organizations. So, and it is also a fact that many people who did get laid off, they got jobs within 6 months of being laid off. And that is because it was not a function of their competence or, their skill set or whatever. It was just that it was an optimization of resources in those organizations.
Since our conversation is bounce back, I'm now rephrasing to bouncing forward. And I'm inviting that us as people do not keep falling back into the same patterns of jobs and same roles and same set of bosses. So more like really bounce forward. What's your advice to our people?
There are lots of things that one can do. So, for example, one thing that I think everyone needs to do is to constantly learn and reinvent themselves. The kind of work that, let me take HR, right? The kind of work that I was doing 20 years back when I started my career, and the kind of work people in a similar job are doing today is poles apart. So first and foremost, depending on the field that you are in, I think you should look at how is the field evolving. And what is it that organizations are focusing on? And if it is in sync with your area of interest, there is no harm in equipping yourself with some of the updated skill sets.
Match the need of what the industry wants.
Okay. So first and foremost, depending on the field that you are in, I think you should look at how is the field evolving. And what is it that organizations are focusing on? And if it is in sync with your area of interest, there is no harm in equipping yourself with some of the updated skill sets.
Right. Match the need of what the industry wants.
Then the second thing is that, rightly or wrongly, people who help you get jobs might try to squeeze people by saying that because you got laid off or you are without a job right now, you are not in a position to negotiate. So take the first job you get, at least you will be employed.
So scarcity speaking severely.
And I would strongly recommend that don't fall into this trap, because you are always in a position to negotiate. Nobody knows your skill set, your competencies, your achievements better than you do. Learn how to articulate and communicate them in the most compelling manner possible. If you need help there, reach out to your old managers, your old colleagues, senior colleagues, so that they can help you there. You would have well-wishers you would have worked with. I don't know if it works for you or not, but I give this advice to everyone. Please write one article a week and publish it on Pulse. It makes you visible in terms of the kind of knowledge you hold. Right? Intelligently comment on the posts of other people in your industry. There are some set of people who will make very arbit comments. You know, they can sometimes cross the line and be almost intrusive or
Subtly abusive.
Don't cross that line, but do let your opinion be made even if it's contrarian to the author of the post. Right. So, for example, I saw a post the other day of somebody saying in Davos that it is important for people to come back to office because people, if they are working work from home, are not productive. I do not agree. And I very respectfully made my point on that post. That's my opinion, right? But I was respectful and I made my point. Right. When you are seen, commenting on other people's posts, when you are seen writing articles in your area of expertise,
in a differing opinion,
in whichever differing opinion or whatever, you are visible at least twice or thrice a week. So the LinkedIn algorithm, I think, sees at least thrice a week kind of a visibility. Right. People start noticing you. Right. The next one is have a backup, a source of income. The third thing which I would say, and I'm not saying do moonlighting, all of us are good at something else. There is this person I know, a very good writer, an extremely good writer. And this person started writing short stories. And these short stories, they compiled into a book and it became a hot seller. Now, along with being fully employed, this is a source of passive income. There is somebody else I know who paints over the weekends. And what stops this person from putting these paintings in a gallery? Maybe they will start small, but maybe one day they will start becoming a source of passive income.
The second thing, look, please make sure there are other backups in your life so that when you're faced with this situation, it doesn't happen. Like have a double income, have an emergency fund. These are the other places where you can make sure that you're looked after, you're resourced. Sonica, thank you so much for guiding us through all these scenarios that play out in a person's life when they are getting laid off. I've personally experienced it. I wish I had heard this conversation sooner. I trust that I'm wise enough to make the most of it even today. And I can just imagine how much value has gone out to our viewers today, to our audience today, for being prepared for this uncertain outcome that may just happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Meera. I really enjoyed myself, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for watching this episode of Workwise with Naukri. We hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share forward whoever could benefit from this conversation. We look forward to seeing you again.